Perfect.
Yep, and away we go.
Right.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Yoga Files. Tonight, we're going to sit down and have a little talk about the third episode of class called Night Visiting. Okay. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get everybody's introductions done. Let's get hey there, hi there, ho there from everyone. Let's start with AJ.
Hello, guys.
Susan.
Hello from rainy California.
Beefhead.
Hello, yes, this is Little Shop of Horrors, but done in a Doctor Who style.
Matt Rose.
Hello.
Philip.
Good evening.
And Texas Tim.
Hello.
Okay, so very, very interesting episode. This is almost like something I would have expected from maybe an episode of The Twilight Zone. It was right up there with the fact that you're dealing with people who are seeing people who are apparently had something, some meaning in their lives who have passed away. But the thing that creeped me out the most is what's it like when someone that passed away shows up at your house, is sitting there talking to you, and then you notice they got something sticking out their back. That was just so weird to me. But okay, let's get your guys' view on it. Let's start with opening thoughts. Let's start with we'll start at the bottom. Let's start with Matt Rose. Opening thoughts on Night Visiting.
Well, I watched Night Visiting just about an hour ago before we started the cast, and I just think each week it's getting good. The formatting, I love it, how each week we're focusing on a different character. This week is Tanya's story, and it was about her daddy issues, if you call it. And I just thought, from her perspective, that she's just a character that's going through so much with her mum. And to actually see her dad again just probably was feeling too much to her, because it was just brilliant to see where this character's come from, because she's not had the most developed as the other lot, so it was nice to see her shine in this one. And it was nice to also see backgrounds exploring more into like Miss Quill, Charlie and his lover, and Fady. Oh no, Ram, that's it. Fady's the actor who plays Ram. But I'm very enjoying it, and I love the originality in the monsters this week. It's brilliant.
Okay, let's move on to Texas Tim.
I thought it was good. The main focus of this episode really was just character development for just about everybody in the show, I think. They didn't really just focus on the one girl. They focused on everybody quite a bit. I really liked the way it was directed as well, with you had two really long conversations going on in two different places. With they kept cutting back and forth, which was pretty cool. I could have done without all the sex scenes. I thought that was a little unnecessary. But it's like, hey, look at us, we're cool. But it was an original idea, original kind of beastie, and it was a cool idea. I think it was. I really liked the twist too. Whenever you think she's going to take his hand, but she does, but she actually just throws all her anger at him. That kind of makes him kind of messed up or whatnot. But overall, I would say it was pretty good.
Okay, let's move on to Philip. You're up next.
Okay, I would agree with what everybody else has mostly said so far. I did find as Tim said, there were two sort of long talking segments in the episode, but I did find it a bit kind of wearing after a while, because I wanted it to move on a little bit, and it just seemed to be stuck in these two dimensions, these two talking aspects. But in a way, that just helped us to understand the characters and their background story. The two boy-on-boy action segments, that could have been done without, to be honest. Even though I'm all for the gay thing, but
hard carrying.
Yeah, but it just didn't really need to be like that. I would have liked it to see Charlie's parents and see how he dealt with the loss of his parents, rather than see him getting all jiggy. The one thing that did surprise me was the development of Ram with April. I thought Ram would have gone for the Tanya girl in that kind of respect of but so he did.
She's 14, Philip. She's 14. That's jail bait.
I know, but the way the way that Tanya and Ram interconnect over the computer, you would think that they would develop themselves a bit more in that kind of way. So that's why I was a bit surprised with the April turnover. But otherwise, the story was good. The Miss Quill and her sister, and that's a bit of an eye opener as well. So we learn about a sister that we've never seen. That was good. That byplay, and the creature itself, the tree trunk creature, whatever it is, I thought it was a nice idea. But overall, it could have been done with less those talking, basically.
Okay. Well, plus we found out about April's father, and how the whole accident happened that paralyzed her mom, and I thought that was very, very interesting. To find out about that. What exactly went on with that. Okay, let's move on to BFIT.
Yeah, pretty much agreeing with a lot of what the guys have already said. Tim said last week, that perhaps you'd get a focus on one, and there did seem to be more of a focus on 1 to 2 characters, and you had a little bit of side character development. Yes, I like episodes where there's a lot of talking to it, a lot of backwards and forwards with concentrated scenes. It doesn't always have to be laden with action. So I did like it in that sense. I liked the concept, but the only thing was that I think it's one of those ones perhaps where the idea came and then they've tried to fit stuff around it to make it work. Because the only problem I had with the Lankin as a beastie, a baddie of the week is, yes, it wants to feed, but it wants to do it, and basically when it entraps someone, they're basically static. So what does it actually set out to do? It's trying to get power to do what? Because it's not taking over the world, because you've got an entire populace that is sort of like just comatose, static. So what is the end game? What is the purpose of that villain apart from wanting to feed? That was the thing that left me wanting with regards to that. I did like it. I thought it does bode well for the future, I think, with the sort of the young girl who really she's attracted to Ram because of how she reacts in the first couple of episodes, and obviously there's going to be some sort of a strange love triangle that isn't a love triangle, but it's a crush thing, I think, that might come up later on. That's going to be quite good. I would agree with Philip. I think the sweaty bodies in it were not needed, to be honest with you. It doesn't add anything to it. You don't need to have that to make the show work. You could have them kissing. I don't think anyone's going to be offended at that. And I think everyone's pretty much accepting of people with their sexuality. So there's no need for it to be either heterosexual or homosexual really have a place in it. It's unnecessary. So yeah, I mean, it was good, it was solid, but there were still bits missing that I think would have made it a lot better.
Yeah, I agree with you. They wasted a whole lot of time. This was the same problem they had with Torchwood Miracle Day. There was far too much, unnecessary sex scene. It's just, you could have been doing something different with that time rather than saying, oh, look, there's 2 young boys with their shirts off. Come on. You couldn't have been more blatant, right there. But okay, move on. AJ.
Yeah, I really liked this episode. It was a very unique and original creature as far as I was concerned. It, to me, reminded me of a Venus flytrap, where it sort of sets out a pheromone or a tendril to attract its prey so it can take it and consume it. I like the whole thing with Tanya sitting there talking to her dead dad, where, she's saying, I miss you, but I still hate you for, leaving us, which I'm sure most of anyone can agree with. You hate the person that died because you loved them and they died, but you still miss them and you still love them. So it's a lot about loss and coming to terms with it this season, as far as I can see, which is a good thing. It's different from Torchwood and Doctor Who, where it's a bit more contemporary, more adult, more things we can agree with, come to terms with as people, general regular people. The only problem I had was this thing was sprouting out through near central London, and no one sort of had a hazmat team going out there and trying to burn it.
Well, it's kind of like in Forest of the Night, where you have trees shooting up everywhere and everyone disappears.
Well, it kind of like happened over the course of like maybe 2 or 3 hours, though. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? And most of the people were entranced by it. You saw like almost everybody on the street was in everybody's house. So I'm guessing that's what they were trying to imply.
I would assume it was a localized invasion, just
Well,
particularly.
it came from the same,
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, Hellmouth. What I
Yes.
like, though, is that they mentioned the previous monsters, saying that that's how they came in, through that same opening because of that. I thought that was pretty clever.
And also how the world is weakened because of all the fractures. I reckon the Doctor has something to do with the weakening of the world's dimensional stability.
It could be. Yeah, they did kind of hint at that back in the first episode, that it had to do something with the Artron energy build up in that particular area. Kind of like the Rift. Well, that's a whole different thing. Okay, and on to Suzanne.
All right. Well, I wasn't able to review the first 2 episodes with you guys, but I'm going to jump in here on the 3rd episode, and I really am enjoying Class. Class has a lot of super cool aspects to it. This monster, the Landkin. It was funny, like they've chosen Shadowkin and Landkin. I mean, there's this whole idea of these things attracting to families. And so in a way, the sex scene was all about establishing a new family for that other kid. I mean, in a way, it's if these shows are all about establishing family, then this creature was attacking based on family relationships. It used Charlie's mom and dad. It used Mrs. Quill's sister, and it used Tanya's dad, and Tanya's dad and her. That interplay was all about trying to use that family to suck her soul clean out. I don't think it was a world domination thing, in as much as it was a soul, to suck the soul out. And I think that's why it showed up at night, because at night you're at home with your family. And I don't know if I'm too far off at the mark in saying that it's got a grace to it that the families will the families won't be the families will be attacked, and these children, these young people, will be the saviors of their families, and the saviors of London, and the saviors of Coal Hill Academy, and the saviors of the earth, as a microcosm of planet Earth. And so I'm liking it. I like the Venus flytrap. I like that whole Little Shop of Horrors thing that Brian was saying at the beginning. And so it was a good thing. So yeah.
Okay, now the one thing, I got to say about this episode, fantastic job by the entire cast, but for me, the one who stole the show more than anything in this whole particular, this episode was, once again, Mrs. Quill. I loved, she got all the best damn lines. Come on, I'm going to go hunt them down and kill them for trying to make my sister nice. Yeah. And not to mention the fact, who else can take out an evil alien entity with a double-decker bus? Come on.
Very, very cool, much like Iris Wildtime.
Okay, floor is wide open. Let's name some favorite parts. Okay, who wants to hop in on that first?
I liked that that once again they remind you that she can't do anything unless the kid's in danger. And so she was waiting all this time for him to come downstairs before she could actually physically do anything about the beastie that she's having this long conversation with. I thought that was pretty clever.
I do find that a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, but I'll forget that then, because I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't say it. It's just a bit of a, what's the word? it stops things from happening with her. Because I'd rather have her at the forefront and doing things for herself rather than have to rely on.
I know what you mean, but I think that was part of the coolness of it, because then you have this conversation where you're finding out all this stuff. The whole episode was really to develop the characters even more, and so you find out a little bit more about her background, and the way they switched back and forth between the two conversations was pretty clever, I thought. I mean, I don't know, you guys both said it was kind of tiresome after a while, but I thought that was what the episode was about. So, I mean, I think that it was all about developing the characters and learning more about them. It wasn't really an action episode. It was more of just
a soliloquy type episode.
All the tension came from what was going to happen next. I mean, like, was she going to take her father's hand or not? You know, because we saw what happened when that happened to the guy on the street. So,
yeah. Plus, you know, you got a little more insight into each one of the characters. This one was more, of a character building episode, because you got to know a little bit more about Mrs. Quill. You know, what's her deal. Plus, you got to find out just a wee bit more about, Charlie. And, then we got Ram and April getting together. And then, of course, a lot of the great stuff was about, young, what's her name, played by Vivian Oprah.
Tanya.
Is it Tanya? I keep forgetting her name. I don't know why. But a lot of it developed around her, where you find out, exactly what happened to her dad, how she felt about it afterwards. I love the little segment at the beginning where they flash through, the time that, she knew her dad, then boom, it jumps to the 2-year anniversary. And I just thought that was very well set up.
Very effective.
Yeah.
It's kind of the corny music. I mean, it was an effective montage to get you into the episode, so you can see where her character is coming from. I thought that was brilliant.
I do hope in future episodes or somewhere along the line they delve into the cracks, because it seems that everyone and every type of monster is coming from the same crack. So I'm wondering, is it split off into different areas of another dimension?
It's basically the Hellmouth. They've really borrowed that from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, except this time there's no superheroes. I mean, there's basically just normal people except for the 2 aliens. But even then, they cancel each other out, because one of them can't do anything unless the other one's in danger. So it's just...
Yeah, but I just want to learn a bit more about the crack and how it's actually utilized on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
I can see that.
They showed that the other villains from the first episode are coming back next week, I believe. So
Yep. The Shadowkin.
Yeah, but that just means they're making another bid to climb for the crack.
Well, it looks like it's going to be more about April as well, because she's
fair enough.
Shadowheart, remember? So
yeah.
But I must confess, as much as Mrs. Quill is great in this as well, her physicality of this as an alien and everything like that, you really do get that impression of it. Yeah, to the point is that where the hand is stuck to the floor with the screwdriver, but he says, I'm going to need knives, two big knives. There's a certain amount of relish and everything like that to it.
And I like at the end, too, when they all say, so we finally did do all this together, and she's just like, they give me a barf bag.
Yeah, that's it. She's supposed to be the protector of them, and she does come through, and you get that distance, though, that she's still alien from the lot of them, because, something when for her, to be honest with you, she experienced something akin to Tanya, and but she was still excluded from that. So they've yet to sort of bond, or there be that sort of type of thing there. So I did quite like that as well. That was good. But
she doesn't want to be there. She wants no part of this. She was perfectly happy with the idea that the doctor was going to take her back somewhere away from there. But he's like, no, you're staying here. So.
Yeah, she did try to hitch a ride with the doctor. It's true.
But even if she wanted to get away, she can't get away without bringing Charlie with her, because she's bonded by him by that creature that's in her head, so she can't really leave anywhere without Charlie.
The guy who played Tanya's dad was very good as well. He was.
He was very effective. True.
And it sort of the hearkening back to one of the the episode where I don't remember. Never mind. It's in one of the offshoots. There's a really intense father-son type deal in
Oh, you're
And
thinking of Sarah Jane Adventures.
is it Clive? Is it Clive?
Yeah, it was Clyde and his dad. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then yeah, that was an eerie hearkening back to that in some ways. My friend in Australia, not you, AJ, but another friend in Australia, said that they really liked it, but the jump cuts were too much for them. There was just two-way jumpy cutty thing back and forth, and like that really bothered them.
I think it's interesting that this show has a lack of fathers other than Ram. He's the only one that actually has a father figure. He's a very sympathetic one. I mean, because he's always goes to his practices and his games and whatnot. Whereas we just found out about what April's father did, which was horrible. And we know that the other girl lost hers when she was much younger. So, or 2 years ago anyway. So
Charlie's are gone, and Mrs. Quills are gone, and yep, you're right.
I kind of like the fact that when Charlie's parents tried to materialize, they couldn't do it because he sort of said that he didn't care about them enough for them to be remembered. So in a way, what Tanya did by using anger against her father helped. It's the same way what Charlie was doing because he didn't really care about his parents.
well, to be fair, Quill didn't care about her sister either, though. I mean,
Yeah, it's true.
all they did was pick her.
I think it's more that he was unconscious at the time, so it couldn't manifest.
Maybe they were uncomfortable manifesting in a room with them naked in bed or whatever. Like, our bad. We'll just pop it.
Yeah, you could have knocked. Yeah.
What really creeped the hell out of me was the way they had Rachel reappear. It was like, out of one of those, like, it was kind of like reminded me of like The Ring, The Grudge or something like that, where she pops up, her face on, then she looks right into that screen back at April. I'm like, whoa. That gave me a little jump. That was so creepy.
I like it too when they're conversing on the computer. They have the usual jumps and stuff, the jitters that we have like in a Zoom when
It's real life.
people are like, yeah, it's more real life, thing. That's pretty cool.
It's one big advertisement for Skype.
I thought it was cool to see that Ram's leg is starting to get a lot better now. He's starting to be able to do his tricks again with his football. So
That's true. Yeah.
But he still seemed to be struggling. So when he was running as well, so it's not like 100% anyway. But yeah, it's the one thing they do convey in this extremely well is that sort of love and anger are two very close emotions anyway. There's only a very little bit separating the two of them as well. So you get that aspect of one can feed and one can poison in one respect as well. So.
Okay, anything else?
Definitely the case with Charlie's boyfriend.
Oh, please. Oh, come on. The boyfriend just shows up and wants to do the happy dance when he's been kicked out of his house. Come on.
Happens in real life.
I've been kicked out. Let's go do struggle cuddles. Okay.
I thought the funniest part of the episode was when Miss Quill is sitting there, she's reading the Hunger Games, she looks at the back of them and goes, "Does this happen, really?"
Oh, yeah, was this real?
But one thing that does intrigue me, and I wonder if this has been done intentionally as well, because you've just had the books come out as well. It was something we were talking about last night, where things are in it. Because he said, "Oh, this isn't like even the third weirdest thing I've seen this week." So you're not quite sure of what the passage of time is between the previous episode and this. So you've got nice sort of blank spaces where you could have had stories between this, which it could be the books that you just had, or it could be subsequent stories that you get later on, or flashbacks or something. So that's quite clever.
Also, how many times can you go up to a door, you knock on it, and someone opens and goes, "Teenage angster, is the world ending?"
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
He shut her up, did he? What did he say? He said,
Teenage angst.
No. He said something like, that's not a proper word, or that's not. What did he say? Something about the grammar.
Oh, no, that's a pejorative. That's a
pejorative or something. Yeah.
pejorative.
So all around, a very interesting episode, a very creepy episode, and I just hope they keep up the good work. But let's go ahead. We're gonna, we've talked about it for a bit, so let's go ahead and we'll rate the sucker and we'll put it to bed, shall we? All right, let's start with the one person who hasn't had anything other than beating. Matt.
I quite enjoyed it this week. I'm really loving the format of the series, which is really exploring into the characters weekly. And Miss Quill is still on my top favourites, even though she weren't the main focus this week. She still always steals the show, so I'm going to give it about a 9 out of 10. It's just because of the monsters this week, but I really loved and the story, but I'm just loving to see where it goes with this series right now.
Okay, Beefhead?
I'm going to rate this one at a 7.5. The concept is great, and I love the talking heads and the character development in it, but it seemed to be, there's the concept, but the rounding out the edges with the lanking is a bugbear for me because I just couldn't see where it was going. And that made it sort of a bit of a disconnect then for me, as much as I enjoyed the focused acting and the two-handers, because that is really well written and really well acted. So yeah, it's going to be a 7.5. I'm really interested in next week, to be honest with you. I like the look of Dorothea Ames. That name sounds so familiar, and I don't know why.
Okay, Susan?
I will, short and sweet, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed, I enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed the first two. And so, pleased as punch that they did a spinoff. Yay.
AJ?
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 as well. I thought it was a very good carry on from the first two episodes, and it looks like it's just going to get better from here. Hopefully they get a second season.
Okay, Texas Tim?
Yeah, I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. It was an enjoyable hour of television. I mean, it didn't really have a lot of problems, and I thought it was fun to watch. So, I mean, it really moved the series along quite a bit as far as the character development goes. So I'll stick with an 8, yeah, for now.
Okay, Philip?
As long as they don't continue to be interpersonal too much, I wanted to move on and be a bit more go at all the invasions and things like that. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because it was good. Although there wasn't so much gore going on apart from the hand stabbing, it still deserves a 9 out of 10. So there you go.
Okay, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, because, we had unnecessary sex scenes, but at the same time, this one was a hell of a creepy episode. You had the horror aspect. You had, everybody's character being moved forward a bit more. Plus, come on, Miss Quill taking out the enemy with a bus. Come on. That was so damn cool, It gets right around that weapon loophole, doesn't it? Okay, so next week we'll be coming back. What was the title of next week's episode again? I forgot.
Damn, I forgot. Oops,
anyone remember?
I saw it somewhere today and I can't remember.
Well, episode 4. We'll be back with that, and I hope you all come back and join us for another session. Until then, everybody have a great week.
Co-owner of a Lonely Heart, in case you want to know.
Oh, yeah, in case people are wondering, why does the man have a baseball head? It's Halloween, and go tribe. And that's it. Where's my stop button?